Alright guys, how's everybody doing? This is Mr. Nolan. I've got your 12B, Rise of England and France notes. I know there are 3 or 4 pages that say 12B, just make sure you have the right one. And unless Mr. Grimsland changed it on his, I actually put on 2 columns that say England. The one on the left is supposed to be England, the one on the right is France. Alright, here we go. England. Couple things you need to know about England during the late Middle Ages. Okay, so from the years 1000 to 1500 is roughly what we're talking about here. The first thing that you need to be aware of is this guy named William the Conqueror of Normandy, which is in France, is going to lead what's known as the Norman Conquest of England. So he's going to take troops, they're going to cross the English Channel, and they're going to conquer England. He wins the Battle of Hastings, which is the significant battle that he defeats the English forces. He's going to unite all of England and become the king. Okay, and this is going to leave a tie between England and France, where the next string of kings that descend from William are actually going to be French initially. That will be the English throne. English common law is going to trace its beginnings to King Henry II, who creates the first British courts. And English common law is the law system that is in effect there. So the court system that Great Britain has today can trace its roots back to the 1100s under King Henry II. All right, next guy you need to know about is Richard the Lionheart. You talked about him, or you learned about him a little in the Crusades notes. You do need to be aware that he leads the Third Crusade, and while he's away on the crusade, he is going to die, and that leaves or paves the way for his youngest brother, John, to become king. For those of you who are fans of medieval mythology, you would know Richard the Lionheart and King John from the Robin Hood myth. They are the same 2 guys. All right. King John eventually is going to fight a bunch of wars with France as the French kings are trying to capture all of that Norman land that the Norman kings of England, so King John and his family, still own at the time. He's fighting a bunch of wars with France, spends a lot of money doing that, and taxes his people a lot. This upsets nobles in England who are going to revolt and force King John to sign the Magna Carta. Okay, the Magna Carta is a very important piece of history and document. It guarantees some rights of free men, like guaranteeing Mr. Nolan the right to spell the word guarantee wrong. It's going to guarantee the rights of free men and create a limited monarchy. So what this means is the king in England no longer has the ability to say and do whatever they want. He can't trample on the rights of his free men. Ladies, sorry, you're still stuck. Slaves, commoners, serfs, no dice. This is guaranteeing the rights of nobles mostly. This is a big thing. It's the first step in the path towards the current British democratic monarchy. Okay, so the current form of government in England is technically a democracy, but it's a democratic monarchy because they still have the king. And you guys all fawn, and the E-News loves the royals, but they have no power now. That begins with the Magna Carta. It's the first time where a king is forced to give rights away. Okay, eventually Parliament is going to evolve after the Magna Carta. Parliament is their version of Congress here in the United States. Okay, it traces its roots again to these nobles being able to sit together and vote and decide on things, right back to the Magna Carta. Across the English Channel in France during this time period, we're going to have a guy named Hugh Capet is going to establish the French throne in Paris, and the Capetian dynasty is going to gradually expand to control most of France over time. Now, this is separate from William the Conqueror's Norman line. All right. So the Capetian dynasty is going to be separate from the Norman line that rules England at this time. Joan of Arc we'll get back to in a minute. She's going to become a unifying factor in France during the 100 Years' War. England and France have that shared history that we talked about with the Norman conquest, where French kings go across the English Channel, conquer England, and are going to rule it for a while, and you have the Capetian dynasty forming in the south. England and France are eventually going to go to war as France wants to dispel all of this English control, and we're going to have the 100 Years' War, which actually lasts a little longer than 100. It's a significant war because it's going to shape the two of them as a nation instead of people identifying as what town they're from, they're going to start to say we are English or we are French. It is the first evidence of nationalism to really occur in Europe after the fall of the Roman Empire. Joan of Arc's an important figure towards the tail end of the war because in the last 20 or 30 years or so, England had actually almost conquered all of France. Joan of Arc is going to unify the French forces and turn the tide so that at the end of the Hundred Years' War, the British Empire, the English crown, is basically going to just be the English Isles, and France is going to control the mainland, and that's going to shape the images of what we know of both countries by the year 1470 as we approach the modern age.